Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 25th day of June, 2025, Friday of the 16th week of the year, the 16th week in Ordinary Time. But it is also today another feast, the feast of St. James the Greater, perhaps because there's also another James. So there are two Jameses in the list of apostles. This is James the Greater. James the Less gets tied in with Simon the Zealot. Yes. So I don't know why that happens, but it is my feast day. One of them, I get to have two feast days, which is so fantastic, I guess. So two feast days. This is James, the brother of the Lord, the one who seems to have been the leader of the church in Jerusalem. Again, very interesting kind of distinction. Peter was not necessarily the leader of the church in Jerusalem. He was the spiritual father. He was the one to direct even how the Spirit was working within the early community. But the day-to-day events seem to have been managed by James. And James, unfortunately, again, according to legend, it's not recorded in any of the scriptures, but according to legend, that is beheaded by one of the Herods because, again, he's representing something other, or he's representing a challenge to the power of the monarchy and things like that. So a brother of the Lord, was he Jesus's brother? Really, was he a cousin? Are we trying to extend that understanding of brother to just refer to a bunch of different kinds of people or not? It's hard to say. But again, this James, who is a part of the early grouping of apostles, is remembered on this day. And in Carolina, it's going to be a doozy of a day. So over 100 as the temperature, with humidity and everything else like that. So again, stay inside if you can't. Try to get inside as much as you can. So let's see how we can get through this day. Hopefully by next week, it seems as though, according to weather.com, things will get a little bit cooler. So just a couple more days of this ridiculousness. So anyway, so on this feast of St. James, there are special readings today. 2 Corinthians, in which Paul basically, again, not necessarily through the mouth of James, but again, speaking perhaps in the spirit of James, tells the Corinthians, again, that if you are a believer, you really cannot be defeated by disappointments, by despair, by misfortune, by pains and anxieties, by all of those things that would seem to undo any regular, normal human person, because you dare to believe and because you are counted among the brothers and sisters of Christ, the sons and daughters of God. These things do not have lasting power over you. They are felt, yes, and they are experienced, yes, but their power to be lasting and destructive to us is destroyed, again, because of Christ's resurrection. And the understanding, again, that in our living as believers in this world, that death always gives way to life. Again, this whole understanding of Paschal mystery. Things that end lead to other beginnings. We need to see that. And it's very difficult for us to see that so many times because our world works on beginnings to end, beginnings to end, beginnings to end. And end seems final, and it seems overwhelming, and it seems too much, for us to be able to comprehend and understand. And so we give into it. But again, as the one who believes, it is never ever giving in to an end. It's giving in always to a new beginning, because God is always about beginning, and God has begun again myriad of times, again within our human history, and God will continue to begin again until that time of fulfillment in which God is all in all, and we are all in God. In Matthew's gospel, again, we hear again that so this is where it is the feast of St. James, but the gospel for today is not an attractive expression of James, because the mother of James and his brother John, because you guys have brother John, is this John the beloved apostle? It seems to be. So they seem to have been related, although it doesn't really talk a lot about that in the gospels. But the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, go to Jesus and say, "Give my sons, a position of privilege at your right and at your left when you come into your glory." Now, again, like any good mother would want to do, perhaps an overbearing, arrogant mother would probably want to do. This is what she requests of Jesus. And Jesus asks of James and John, "Are you ready to receive the cup that I will receive?" And they're saying, "Oh, sure, we can do anything like that." But again, the cup is not one of honor. It's not one of glory. It is one of the cross and the suffering that accompanies it. And Jesus says, "Yes, you will indeed share." Again, forecasting their martyrdoms perhaps and stuff like that. But those at my right and at my left, that's not for me to decide, but for God to decide. Again, showing this distinction, again, between Jesus and what God's will is. But the understanding is, that he goes into that, again, it's not about seeking power. It's not about seeking privilege, not about seeking places, but it's about living less. And understanding that the more that we live in service to each other, the more our lives are enriched. our lives become what they are meant to become. Yes, it is avoiding those pitfalls in which we become maybe doormats or dish rags for people, but to be able to give of ourselves freely and wonderfully and beautifully to one another, to enter into the life of each other, again, is a hallmark of what it means to be a believer in this world, and a hallmark that we should never ever fail to embrace as our own. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. Keep cool in this heat. May the Lord give you his peace.